Hello, welcome to Chemistry 1412. My name is Dr. Dunnington. I'm going to be your instructor for the lecture and the lab portion of this class. Hopefully this is General Chemistry 2. Hopefully that's what you thought you signed up for. And so the purpose of this video is to kind of give you a pretty broad overview of kind of my theories on teaching, kind of broad structural information about the class, not specifics about any sort of particular assignments or anything like that. There will be other videos, like lecture videos about this. This is more of like a welcome introduction. I've been at Lee College since 2019, so I finished 7 years here, so I'm going into my 8th. I really like working at Lee. I think it's a really unique place in that, we're kind of where the college sits is on the edge of kind of Houston service area, and then the service area really extends really far out away. So we're not really boxed in terms of what is considered like associated with Lee College. So some of you may be from further away, up to like 45 minutes, an hour drive away. And so that leads to a really diverse set of people, right? Just people from very different backgrounds. It's not like it's only Baytown, right? It's not like it's only Baytown, Mount Bellevue, Dayton, Liberty. Some of y'all may be from, Winnie, Cove Hull, right? All sorts of spread out over that whole, kind of large area. And so all sorts of different places, and you get, a really unique wide range of students. And I always learn something new from all my students, from every semester from students, which I really like. I also really like teaching in the community college setting. I previously taught at the University of Wisconsin, where I got my PhD, where you're teaching to, 120 students at a time. It's very big sections, relatively impersonal. After that, I was like, oh, I want something personal. I'll go to high school, where I was a total failure at classroom management. They just didn't want to learn math, so no one learned anything, and I hated it. So I found that here, you've chosen to come here, and so you're going to be engaged. I'm going to get to know y'all, know your names, and I like that. It makes the teaching feel fulfilling. At the same time, we're still doing chemistry. We're still doing the same, level of understanding that I would at a four-year school. Outside of work, I really like to go to new places, especially to find birds. I like to see birds in different areas, driving around Texas, going to new counties, going to see new birds in different areas. I have a 2-year-old daughter who sometimes goes to do things we stay relatively local. She likes looking at ducks at the pond, but I do enjoy going places and doing things. It is assumed that you have completed, or you should not assumed, in order to be in this class, you have to have completed Chemistry 1. It's called Chemistry 1411 at Lee College, but it could be some different number at a different place, or you could have tested out or done something in high school or something like that. But it's just, you have that knowledge. I'm going to assume that you have that knowledge. But importantly, I'm not going to assume that you took Chemistry 1411 with me at Lee College. Some of you did. Welcome back. I'm always flattered when you choose to return, but you might not have, and that's okay. I'm never going to reference like a specific activity or like remember what we did last October? Like that's never gonna come up. And when we do reference things from 1411, I'm gonna talk about what you need to know. So I'm gonna assume you've heard the term molar mass before, but I'm gonna show you at least a quick refresher on how we use molar mass, on what stoichiometry is, on what exothermicity and endothermicity are. We're going to use those ideas a lot. We're going to use those tools and kind of expand out and look at a little more complicated chemistry. Same thing for math. There's a math requirement. There's an assumption you can do some amount of math, algebra especially in this course. I'm never going to just be like, do the quadratic formula. When the quadratic formula comes up, I'm going to remind you what it looks like and how we use it. We're also going to talk about ways to avoid having to use the quadratic formula. And so those sorts of things, I'll walk through the math. I'm never just going to skip math steps. I'm always going to walk through the math, and I'm never going to expect you to do something more than what I've shown. Those both prerequisites, Chemistry 1 and the math, lead into this class, and this is still probably potentially a prerequisite for most of you for the classes you're more interested in going into, right? Some of you want to study chemistry, want to go on to do chemistry all the way, but many of you are probably looking to go into something else, whether that's healthcare, engineering, pure bio or lab biology, geology, physics, engineering, something like that, right? I think I double dipped on that one. And so those sorts of things, hopefully, now that you have the language of Chemistry 1, you can talk about chemical systems. We can describe more real chemical systems and talk about more real examples in chemistry too. So I try to do that. We're going to do some of it on campus, showing you examples, demonstrations of things where you can understand observed phenomena based on the molecular description that we can now have. Because we have the language from Chemistry 1, we can start to apply it out a little more complicated. So I'll talk about it in the videos, in the lecture, and then I'll also be bringing some on campus. We can look at things, look at pictures, understand things from my daily life that you can understand now. We can all understand these things. Might have noticed I mentioned it's online lectures, videos. This class does have an online lecture component. I try to design my online components to best take advantage of the advantages of the modality. Yeah, and avoid the disadvantages. So one of the big things is flexibility. So we're never gonna meet at particular times. All the videos are gonna be pre-recorded and distributed on YouTube, like the one you're watching right now. So all the videos will be posted and then you can watch them at your own pace. Lectures are gonna be broken up into multiple videos. So it's not just like a single hour-long video for lecture. It's gonna be numerous, 4 to 8, depending on that, the length of the individual videos, breaking up. So the idea is break it up in bite-sized bits, watch little bits when you can, making it more flexible as opposed to feeling like you need to commit an hour and 15 minutes straight through. Now that being said, I want to be flexible, but you got to stay on pace. You can watch things when you want to, but you got to stay on pace. So in an on-campus class, we'd have 2 on-campus meetings in a week. Similarly, I have 2 sets of videos that you need to watch by certain points in the week. So Tuesday and Friday, you'll have associated activities based on those videos. The idea being you're sticking with the material. You also will have homework assignments one during the week and one at the end of the week, again, to keep you on pace with the material. I know from personal experience that when I am in an online class that only has a weekend due date, everything's just due at the end of the week, I don't start anything until the end of the week. And then I'm doing a week's worth of material in one day. That's just a lot to do. Because you gotta remember, when it comes to doing this online component, it's like you are doing all of the on-campus lecture of a class, and then still all of the homework, lab analysis, all of those things outside of class. You're doing lab on campus. Every other part of the class, the on-campus lecture, as well as homework and all that, is still happening outside of class. And if you're doing all of that on Saturday or Sunday, that's just not a good way to learn for anyone. You might be able to physically get it done, but you're not really gonna remember that much. It's not really gonna go that well. So I like to have lots of assignments to keep you can go at any pace you want, as long as it's fast enough, right? It's the flexible online, but you gotta stay fast enough. You'll also note, or another kind of strategy, theory, thing I put in my teaching is having a lot of assignments that I can increase the stakes on, increase the importance. You're gonna do what are called participation assignments, where you'll find questions in the lecture videos and then just submit answers. It's purely completion. I want you to try. You're gonna see an idea, and then I want you to try to see if you can answer a question, solve a problem, do an analysis, come up with some answer to that right away. You get some immediate practice and you turn it in. And I want you to do that, not necessarily being an expert, because it's gonna be low stakes and you're gonna make mistakes, which is perfect. I love for you to make mistakes there, because then you can learn from those. I'll tell you what the answers are. Once the due date has come, I'll post solutions to all of the assignments. And so you'll have the solutions so you can see what the right answer is and learn from your mistakes. But it doesn't affect making that mistake does not affect your grade, but it does enable learning. That's why I want a lot of assignments with relatively low stakes that increase. We then will have homeworks where you need to get it right, but you have multiple attempts. Then we'll have quizzes where you need to get it right on the first attempt, but it's not worth that much of your grade. And then we'll have tests where you need to get the questions right on your first attempt, and it's worth a lot of your grade, right? Or a big chunk of your grade, right? So, these sorts of increasing stakes, there's lab on top of that where you're seeing things multiple times, right? The more you do something, the more experience, the more iterations you have with it, the better you're gonna get. And the better you're going, the more mastery you're gonna have. And that's how learning happens. This isn't something unique to chemistry. This is how learning a skill, right? When, I had to figure out how to cook when my wife couldn't get out of bed when she became pregnant, right? I had to start doing things. You had to learn, and it's like iteration. You make mistakes and you learn from them. And I expect you to make mistakes in the learning process. That's part of it. And I want to encourage you to do that by having those assignments with relatively low consequences. Or no consequences from being wrong. We will have on-campus labs. Our first one will be this Wednesday, August 26th at 11 a.m. in room 124 of the science building. So we will meet in there at 11 a.m. That's not true. We'll always start at 11 a.m. Usually it's in the lab room, but we'll do plenty of other stuff elsewhere. And we'll do our lab experiments. You will need to come dressed correctly. That means wearing closed-toed shoes. So that means the shoes need to cover the top of your foot and wrap around the back. So no sandals, no clogs, no Crocs. Basically, we don't want anything that you can easily take off. If you have like ballet flats, it needs to at least like cover your toes. It can't be like only like fully cover past your toes. It can't be like only covering your toenails or something like that. Everything has to be covered because we want the shoes to stay on. Additionally, you need to wear clothing from your shoulders all the way down to your ankles, so covering your abdomen, fully covering your legs. And then we also need goggles. I lost my pair. They need to be, these are glasses, which means there's a gap between my eyes and the skin, and they rest on my ears. Goggles would be flush against my face, and they'd have an elastic strap holding them against my face. So that's what we want to see in our PPE. We do want to be wearing those goggles. I have goggles in the lab that you can use. You can also get them through the My Books program. After lab, we'll have some extra time usually. It's not gonna take 2 hours, and we'll move to a classroom on campus where we'll do a variety of different things, some practice, some demonstrations, announcements, other things like that. The Blackboard for the course becomes available on Monday, August 24th. On that date, theoretically they're available at midnight, but it always takes time to roll them out. Also, we've been having a ton of Blackboard issues so far this August, so I wouldn't be surprised. A little bit of a delay or something is broken, everything else. So hopefully it'll be like 8 a.m.-ish, 6 a.m.-ish. You know, if you're up in like the middle of the night at like 1 a.m. on the 24th, might not be available, but it should be available by like 7 a.m. on the 24th, so you can get in and see everything. If you have any questions about anything, don't hesitate to reach out. You can always email me. I'm emailing this out. It's bdunningston@lee.edu. I sent this email out, so you can respond to that. I sent this video out in an email. You can respond to that. Otherwise, welcome to class. I'm excited to have you, and I'll see you on campus on Wednesday, August 26th at 11 a.m. in room 124 of the Science Building. Bye-bye.